Okay, awesome. We're holding 3 lines from the bottom of Chaf Beis Amud Beis. We're discussing Hilchas Avelos. Let's continue. Okay. Al Chacham Chaylit Miyamin. We're in the middle of the Hilchas Kriya, when a person tears Kriya when he becomes an Avel. So we're talking about over here. What if it's a Talmud Chacham? The Talmud Chacham is like the Rav of the town who passes all the shilas in that community. Yeah. So what happens when he dies? So the halacha is Al Chacham Chaylit Miyamin. You reveal the shoulder on the right, and again, whenever the Gemara talks right and left, you always have to know if it means right and left. His right and left, does it mean facing him right and left? But either way, Bepashtas, it's his right arm.
Above your heart. Is it above your heart?
No, so the Chacham, it's above. So we're talking here about your shoulder. And on the Alav Bezdin, who's sort of like the Paisik of more people. So that's Mismail. You do the left side. And Al Nasi is like the Gadol Adar. That would be Mikanu Mikan. And the point is that as you sort of go up in stature, you have to show more.
We don't do shoulders.
We don't do this anymore. No. Well, it's not that we don't do it. It's halach l'maisa. We're just not knowing it. Meaning it's ein l'chlichoida. People don't do it anymore. It's sort of very similar to the idea of like kibbut aim for things that like socially nowadays are. You know, if I would stand up and my father walked into the room, he'd smack me. You know what I mean? It would be like weird. You know. Either way, Taner Rabbanim. Chacham shemeis. Let's say you have a Talmud Chacham. Rashi, just to clarify, Chacham. Who is a Chacham? Memuna al ha'ir shemivakshim yimeno hayra. So this is the person in this. There's not only one, it could be, there's more than one. He's the Rav of the city. So this person, Nebuchi, passes away. What's the halacha? Beis Midrasha, batal. The halacha is whoever learns Torah from him is batal. They have to stop learning. They have to sort of take a break. What does it say in Rashi? Osan shirigilin lilmoy Torah mipeh. People who go to him for Torah, if that person now passes away, then all of his talmidim have to be noyeg a certain type of avelis. Now there's no ikar avelis. It's not like they're avelin. They don't have kriya and all these things, but on some level, they do. They do have kriya maybe of their shoulder if they want to. That's if it's a Talmud Chacham. What about Av Bezdin? Av Bezdin shemeis kol batim midrashos shebeiroi b'teilin, so that it expands all of the base medrash in his town have the same halacha that they stop learning. V'nichnasin lebeis hakneses, and they go into the shul. U'mishanenes mekayman, and when they sit in shul, they don't sit in the normal place. Hayoshim b'tzafa and yoshim b'daram. The people who normally sit in the south sit in the north. The people who normally sit in the north sit in the south. Hayoshim b'daram, those who sit in the south, Yoshim often should sit in the north. I don't know why it goes north south, east west. I don't know why, whatever it is, change your spot. Meaning it's supposed to show a sign of Avelis. Meaning again, we saw, if you remember in Tainus, that if a person leaves his shul, it already brings him a lot of Akmas Nefesh. So obviously changing your place feels a little out of sorts. You give yourself a little discomfort in acknowledging the fact that the Av Bezdin is passed.
I remember how difficult that was for me.
Of course.
I had my spot.
Yeah.
And the Rebbe told me I can't sit there anymore. I took so long. I was so comfortable in that spot. And then he said, you can't sit there.
That's the point.
I was so upset. That upset me.
That's where the idea of, you hear the phrase, Mishana Mokum, Mishana Mazel, a person changes his place, he changes his mazel. I mean, there's a spiritual reality to the place that you learn and daven in, you know. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I mean, sometimes a person can have bad mazel. So your Mishana, your Mokum, someone picks up and moves out of one city, goes to another city, all of a sudden.
Mazel changes.
Either way, continues the Gemara. So Nasi Shemeis, so what's the halacha by a Nasi? Nasi Shemeis, Bati Midrashos Kulim B'Tilin. All of Klal Yisrael has to stop learning, which is insane. I don't know how that works. Obviously, it means that I have to assume it means you're still allowed to learn the things that an Ovel is allowed to learn, because it can't be Chas Shalom for a minute. There's going to be no Torah. But either way, Nasi Shemeis, Bati Midrashos Kulim B'Tilin. And what do? Ubnei HaKnesses, the people of the Shul, Nichnasin LeBeis HaKnesses. And this is referring to Shabbos. They go into shul on Shabbos, and in order v'kayrin shiva, and they lane. They lane. Now, meaning like a regular Shabbos. V'yotzin Rashi says kayrin shiva. He says b'sefer Torah. They ain't mispalel in yachad bebeis haknesses. They don't daven with a minyan. Ella kol echad ve'echad mispalel bebeis. Meaning this is a sign of avelus for the Gadol Adar that dies. Which, if you stop and think about it for a second, is just a very strange thing. Meaning the Gadol Adar dies, and what do? We don't go to shul.
Yeah.
Meaning, what it's saying is that so the Gemara immediately says, I mean, you don't go to shul and you go Tutzacharayin in the market, you go to Times Square and go hang out over there. What does it mean? You have to be doimu. You have to sit silently in contemplation and in mourning. Meaning, basically, what it's saying is there's an appropriate time for learning, and that time is when you're learning. And then there's an appropriate time for not learning and sitting in contemplation about the loss. And when that happens, a person's not supposed to distract himself with, meaning.
Like Shlomo Melech said in Koheles. It's time to.
Yes,
laugh
correct. Yes, 100%. Gene. No.
No?
Up top.
Beautiful. That was beautiful.
top.
It's like the time, everything has its time.
Okay.
You're
Now.
saying you just do lane with a minion and then you go
Oh,
home.
yeah, exactly.
No Shmon Esrei.
Nothing. Go home, but be yechidus. Now, the interesting, I don't want to get too deep into it. There's a big chakira from Reb Chaim Brisker, famous. It came up a little bit in Tainus. How do we view the chova to lane? Is chovas kriyas haTorah a chovas tzibur or a chovas yachid? Meaning, do you have an obligation to find the laning on Shabbos, or is it that no? When you have a group of 10 people together, it's now that there's a chiyuv that they have to lane. The Nafkamina Reb Chaim says, famous Reb Chaim Brisker, it's quoted by the Birch Shmuel, it's Baruch Ber. Famous Chakira, the Chakira sort of goes, what's the Nafkamina again? Nafkamina is like this. Let's say you have a rove of people. Can you lane? So if you say it's a Chovas Tzibur, you don't have a Tzibur until you have 10. Yeah, you need a Tzibur, right? If you hold it, it's a Chovas Yachid, so you could say, well, I have 7 Yechidim. I have 7 Yechidim, that's rove. I have enough Yechidim. This is also called enough to. So that would be like the famous Nafkamina. So Shlomo Zalman brings a raya from our Gemara over here. What does he say? He says, "Ubnei hakneses nichnasim lebeis hakneses v'koirin shiva v'yotzin yigahom." Why? Why are we sending them to shul? You only have a chiyuv once you have 10 people collected. But if there's 10 people not there, then there's no chiyuv. You don't have the story. I think the famous story of the Chaim Brisker was that he was in a town with someone else, and they were in collecting money or whatever it was, and they were in a hotel staying, and the person who he was with started leaving to go to find the minion, to go to try to grab a bunch of Jews together. It was a Thursday. He wanted to have Kriyas HaTorah. I said, you don't need to do it. It's a Chovas Yachid. There's only 2 of us. There's no chiyuv. If you don't have a beggar that has 4 corners, you don't have tzitzis. I mean, it's, either way, that's a shaila that Shlomo Zalman wants to bring a Rav Mar Gemara to the tzad that it's a Chovas Yachid, because if it's a Chovas Tzibur, why do you have to force everyone to go to shul only to then have a Chovas Tzibur? Just don't go. And
Chovas is an obligation.
Obligation of the tzibur, yeah, right. So that's a discussion. But either way, I wasn't going to mention it, but you asked, so why not? Okay, so Gemara continues. What does it say? What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to talk about when you're visiting an ovel? You're not supposed to talk halacha, talk divrei agada. You're not supposed to say over divrei Torah in the house of an ovel. And again, you're supposed to be talking about the person who passed. You're supposed to be Menachem Ovel. Amru Olav, however, they did say Al Rabbi Chananya ben Gamliel, he did. So it's hard to know exactly what the Gemara bringing the story to say that the halacha is that you shouldn't, but if you want to, you can. And it's just saying better not to. Is it saying that it's also what he did was he was unique? Is he like a Ben Azai that nafshay chashka b'tayr that he couldn't do it? You have to ein in the achrayim. Okay, Tanar Rabbanan, a new brayso. Avel shem. Shabbos Rishona Heina Yoytz Mi Pesach Beisai. The first week of his Avelos, what we'll call Shiva, let's say, he doesn't leave his house. Shnia, the second one, Yoytz Ve'ena Yoshiv. He goes out, but he doesn't He doesn't sit in his own spot in shul. He has to do a little bit something else. Shlishis, on the third week, is Yoshiv B'Kayim. He gets to sit in shul wherever he wants in his spot. However, Ve'ena Medaber, he doesn't talk too much.
Not for parents. Parents, you can't hold.
Let's just read and then we'll see. Revius on the fourth week is how he can already start acting like a regular person. You don't have to tell me that the first week he doesn't go out, because that's the week everyone's coming to visit him. That's his week of Shiva. So obviously, when we say the first week he doesn't go out, that's not referring to the actual first week. It means the first week after Shiva. So therefore, it's Ela Shnia, Eina Yotzmi Pesach Pesach. So even though an Avel is getting up, the second week, he's still supposed to stay in his house. And we don't pass him like this, right? Because Allah is, as soon as an Avel's finished with Shiva, he goes to shul to daven like a normal person. There is a discussion on the postum, I don't have it clear what the halacha would be. Is let's say you have an Avel.
What about the Shabbos in the middle of Shiva?
No, it stays home. The Shabbos he goes. Goes. What's the halacha if an Avel can't get a minion in his house?
He goes to shul.
Goes to shul. I'm saying, but it's not so clear. I mean, that's a discussion on the postum. What is his, what, meaning, because really, Me'ikar Adin, you might say that he's Potter, meaning, right, he's got to sit in his house, he's Yosheb B'Beisai. But either way, the halacha, you're right, the halacha would be that he would go. Continues the brayso. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, the second week, the week after Shiva, he doesn't go out. He goes out, but he doesn't sit in his own spot. Revius Yoshibim Koim Avein and Medaber doesn't talk too much, and the Chamishis, meaning the 5th week, when his Shloshim is completely over, Harei Kecholadim, and yes, this is only talking about a person who's being knowing Shloshim, but for a father, there are some other halachas here that are obviously a little bit different. Tell me, when you, after Shloshim is over, what are the laws for an Avel for their father in terms of where they sit? They have to still change the place?
Yeah, whole
You
year.
told me the whole year.
Yeah, is that the way it works?
The whole year you don't
That's
sit
what
with
you told me.
your.
That's what you told me.
Really?
I don't know, I'm just...
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's what you said. I remember. I didn't sit the whole year. It was very hard for me. Very hard.
it should be a schus. Schus for the neshama for your
See
father.
how crazy I am with my spots. Right?
Tanar Rabbanim. New Brisa, very interesting halacha. Kol shloshim yom l'nesuin. Halacha is a person during shloshim is not allowed to get married. Meaning he's allowed to get married the first stage, but he can't make a gemar nesuin. Can't be machnisa l'chuppah. Because it's a steer to his simcha, the simcha of his nesuin, and versus the now. However, what about the halacha as follows? Mesa ishtay. What if a guy's married and his wife dies? So how long before he can get remarried? So it says here in the Gemara, Asr Lisa Isha Acheres, he can't marry a second woman. Ad she avru olav shloisha regalim. Three
Theater.
gimel regalim have to pass.
You have a story yesterday about when we got married?
So it said, Rabbi Yehuda Omer regal rishayin v'sheni Asr. The first 2 regalim is Asr, and shlishi is mutter. So again, there's machlekes Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda. Whether if a person lost his wife Nabach and now he wants to get remarried, how long is it before he can get remarried?
No, it's funny. It reminds me of what we spoke about that has to go by. We were just talking about during what? Was it during Shemitah?
To Nedarim?
We just learned something recently that had about you had to wait for 3.
Nedarim. If a person makes a neder
Yeah.
and
To pay it.
then he has to pay it back.
All right.
That's what
Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah.
You're knocking it out.
No,
Sushtal.
no.
No, it's a fantastic sushtal. In fact, you're mechavan to a meiri. What you're touching on is a meiri. The meiri on this Gemara says the reason. What my high gimel regalim in this halacha. So he says a similar idea. He says that the nedarim is like a woman thing, meaning like to add on chumras and to take on tailing groups and all these other things. Nedarim is more of a vibish a woman thing. It says therefore that for some reason they decided to choose the same shear for nedarim by as they over here. Because really, what's the shaykhs?
Right. I wanted to see how it ties in together.
It doesn't really. It's not so clear. So I mean, in the din of the Gemara, but I'll say over in a second. I just want to go through the halachas. So there's a machlekes whether you wait 3 regalim or 2 regalim. So does this mean Pesach Shavuos Sukkos? Does Yom Kippur include? Does Rosh Hashanah include? So we'll see in a moment. So Rabbi Yehuda says no too. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Regel Rishon Sheni also Shlishi Mutter. Meaning, let's say it's Pesach, and they pass right before Pesach. So you have Pesach, then you have Shavuos. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, right after Shavuos, you can get married. According to the Tanakama, you'd have to wait till Sukkot. But it's mashma, it's not a full year, right? Unless the definition here for Gimel Regalim is going to be the same definition, let's say we saw before, right? Meaning, so, I mean, the post can talk about shilas that come up. If a person wants to know, does Gimel Regalim mean that I have to pass actual 3 Regalim? Or does it really mean Gimel Regalim means I have to wait a year? That's a discussion also. Okay, so what is the Gemara? What if a person doesn't have children, meaning and therefore he has a mitzvah of piri v'ribya, then Allah is mutar lisa la'alter mishum bitul piri. He doesn't have to wait. He can even get married right after Shiva. Doesn't have to wait at all. Another halacha. Moed Kattan. What if his wife passed and she's got little boys and girls and he's got to take care of them and he's adequately supplied with the skills to do that, right? Mutar lisa la'alter. He also can do it. Why? Mipnei parnasasan, in order to make sure that they're taken care of. So he has a wife to take care of it. Ma'isa shemeisa ishtos or Yosef HaKohen. They were hanging out by the center, and he still goes over to his wife's sister, who's also an Avel, and says,
So you have almost tease.
"Yeah, a little bit. Let's not get carried away." Yeah, okay.
Ravelli says that in the Gemaras they always like to throw teasers.
Yeah, well, the real teaser was the Gemara the other day. He goes over to the sister and says, "Go take care of your nieces and nephews," meaning, let's get married.
Which is allowed, right? Once if the system.
Well, that's what he's bringing. The mice in the Gemara here is exactly for what's being discussed in the Gemara, that it's mutter to get married if it's kidei parnasasa.
Also, you're married. You're allowed to marry your sister's
wife when she dies. Yeah. That's what you're talking about. Yeah. However, still he wouldn't have attachments with her unless for Zman Meruba. And if you would have asked me Zman Meruba, I would have said, I don't know, whatever, a year. Okay, so let's take.
My friend's father actually when his wife passed away, he married her sister.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
Was his name Yosef? Was he a Kayan?
Yeah,
His name was Yosef?
yeah,
And he was a Kayan?
yeah.
You got to count this Gemara.
That's crazy, by the way. That wasn't-
That's this Gemara. Yo,
That is crazy.
That's
by the way.
insane. Ishta Shel Yosef
He just passed
HaKayan.
away. He just passed away.
Oh, man, that would have been an awesome story.
Right? I like to tell Jimmy that, though. I like to
Write it down. 23a,
where is it?
I don't know, seventh wide line of the, seventh wide line of the
Well,
Gemara.
I want to take a picture of it.
6 lines in the, that's an
No,
insane
yes,
story.
yes,
He's a
yes.
Kayan? He was a Kayan?
Wow.
And his name was Joe? Or
Yeah.
whatever, Yosef?
That's crazy.
And he married his wife's sister?
Yeah. That's crazy. by
Did
the
he
way.
get engaged in the cemetery?
No, wait, where is it? Find it for me in English and Hebrew. I want to take a picture.
Oh, that's insane.
Right here, right here.
I got it.
Like right there.
But I thought we there doing
Wait, hold on.
$3
But he's saying
No,
he's
no,
saying-
that's the
saying-
exceptions here. These are all the
I know, but a
exceptions.
regular person without children. Yosef Kayan.
Yeah, yeah.
The little lady usually.
Oh, I don't know.
I think, well, it's always usually the kids.
There's another
Usually
exception.
kids,
There's another
I think
exception.
The parents are sensitive to the kids because they probably can't handle their parent. I know that. I mean, just socially.
Here.
The
People,
what?
no,
That's crazy, by the way.
Someone who has kids and his wife or a husband dies, they usually wait a little while because the kids were attached to the parent. They find it.
Yeah.
Because I've heard of stories where it happens quickly and
There's another heter also, even if you don't have kids.
What's going on here?
There's another heter the Yerushalmi brings when we pass in this halacha, which is if the person who passed is someone who himself needs help. Right now, that could be either because of something, he has maybe a disability or whatever it is. But even if he's the famous Shaila, I think it's some Sefer maybe, who is one of his Talmidim asked him. He was a Rav, and his wife passed, and he wanted to get remarried before Golem, and the Shaila was asked if he's allowed to. What was the Shaila? He says because the woman who was being suggested for him was the wife, was also an almana, and she was the wife of another Rav. And some Sefer had paskined based on this Yerushalmi that says if he needs it for himself, that his life, because he's a Rav of a big community, it's not a simple thing. The wife's job is not just to cook and clean; she has other responsibilities as a Rebbetzin, whatever it is. So he would have a heter of even before Gimel Regalim because of all of the extra tzrachim. She would already know how to handle what it means to be the wife of a Rav. How to deal with the women, how to deal with, what that type of life is like, to make sure that he's taken care of. Because a person who's a Talmud who's tzaddik, who's Riley Epstein is not sitting and making eggs in the morning. You know what I mean? That's not what he was doing. So either way, okay. So also, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but the halacha, the question that the Rishonim discuss over here by the heter or the isra to get, what's really the reason why you're not allowed to get married? Meaning the problem all the Rishonim are dealing with over here is this is not a parent. A wife is no different than a brother, sister, or a son and a daughter when it comes to the normal dinim of avelis. We don't treat them with that extra level of, so why all of a sudden is the halacha that by a wife you have to wait a year if she passes away, right? So the Rishonim speak out two different reasons. One reason is it's a hilchas avelis halacha, and it has something to do with, it's like a bizayon to your wife if you get remarried too close after. Because even though in Avelis, you don't necessarily have a din to be an Avel for you, but it's a bizayon to your wife that you would so quickly take another woman to be with her. It's sort of like the love that you have for your wife sort of dissipated too fast. It doesn't speak well. It's one thing, and no one's ever replacing a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, or a child, right? Even when you have another child, replacing the child that passed, it's a new child. But a wife is a replacement, right? The halacha is that once you get remarried, right? Let's say a person loses his wife, Nabuch, gets remarried. There are halachas of he's allowed to do, and he's not allowed to go visit the old grave. Can't visit his first wife's grave.
Yeah.
You have a wife. You have your current wife would be terribly pained over the fact that she's not made to be what she's supposed to be. You're not allowed to talk about your first wife.
Really?
Yeah, you have to be very, very careful.
It's talking, but
No, you have to be. I mean, really, that's what a person really. And again, I'm not giving anyone advice here, but to get remarried, right, is a major responsibility to the new person. You have big responsibilities because you have a wife who her whole life is you, not you, but I'm saying a person who is in such a situation. Her whole life is you, and all of a sudden, it's like you're compartmentalizing your life and leaving a little portion of the
in the shadows of the first wife.
and that doesn't work. So that's what the Rishonim speak out as one of the reasons here. The other reason the Rishonim speak out, very interesting halacha, which is it's an hilchas of lo sasuru achrei levavchem ve'achrei einechem. They don't want you to be with the new wife, in bed with the new wife, be thinking about the old wife. They want the time to pass, enough time to pass that you don't have issues of the wrong machshavas in bed. Tosfos speaks that out over here. And all the Achronim go and say, depending upon which reason you go in, it could be nafkaminas, but whether you might count. So how do the 3 regalim work? So the 3 regalim work that if I have 3 regalim, so one shita, the shita who holds that it's an avelas halacha, understands that by having 3 regalim pass, the 3 yomim tovim, which are normally times you'd be spending with your wife together in the house together, making yontiv together, going through 3 yomim tovim without her, that will be enough to sort of deaden the loss and the feeling of that, like there really won't be anything left of a romantic feeling, and now you can go marry someone else, and you won't be having thoughts of the old wife, whatever it is. Different mahalchim through. But let's say Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah won't necessarily do that, because that's not. We all know that a home on Sukkot and a home on Pesach is not the same thing as a home on Yom Kippur, right? It together. There's no meals. You're not bringing everything. It's just a little bit different. So you have to. But either way, halacha l'mais we paskin. I think only the Gilmer Regalim, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm in the Rishonim to know exactly what that was. Continues the Gemara New Brisa. Tanur Rabbanan, 5 lines in the bottom. Kol shloshim yom legihuds. During shloshim, a person isn't supposed to wear freshly ironed clothing. Echad kelim chadashim, and this applies whether you're buying new clothing or you're putting on first time clothing. Ve'echad kelim yishanim, old clothing, yotzim misoch hamechabesh, that just came out of the cleaners. Right? Rebbe Omer lo asr ala kelim chadashim bilvad. So Rebbe is of the opinion that the Isser does not apply only to. Let me say that again. The Isser applies according to the Tanakama, new clothes or old clothes that are pressed, and he doesn't make a distinction at all between, let's say, the color. Just across the board, everything's Asr. Rabbi Omer lo asru ela kelim chadash b'lvad. He says pressed clothes are no problem. You're allowed to wear pressed clothes as long as they're not new. The issue is wearing new clothes. Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon has an interesting middle opinion. His approach is Omer lo asru ela kelim chadashim levanim b'lvad. The only thing that's Asr are new clothes, and even new clothes are only a problem if they're white. But if they're not white, then they're fine even if they're new. Abaye nafik. So what did Abaye nafik? Begarda de sarvala, which was like a white pressed clothing. Kir Rebbe, which would be in the opinion of Rebbe, but it would also be in the opinion of Reb Shimon, Reb Elazar Reb Shimon, because he basically had no problem wearing. It was new, but it was white and pressed. Right, white and pressed is old. Sorry, it's old and pressed. So Reb Elazar Reb Shimon would also say that it's mutter. But okay, the Gemara says that it's a sheet of Rebbe. And Rava Nafik bechimutzta rumisa, in a Roman tunic, sumkita. I hope I pronounced that right. That was red. Chadati, and it was new. So he basically went out in a brand new, imagine Rava coming outside in a brand new red tunic.
Why don't you wear red tunic?
Like a bekishin.
There was no one who was permitted.
Permitted, mutter.
Yeah.
And he was obviously going Kirab Elazar Reb Shimon. Okay, so back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that the halacha is that we
pass all year you're going to call it, right?
I don't know.
I think you're
I would love to. You could spend a year just going through just this parak.
I don't think we're buying this clothing.
Meaning for a father and a mother, you mean? Could be.
So I think that's what you told me that.
You're not allowed.
I don't think so.
You didn't want to do anything.
What do I know? I make them up as I go along. What do you think?
He let you do something, he let you drive him crazy for you.
Okay, let's hop right. Move a little faster. So the Mishnah said that the halacha is a person is not supposed to. Person becomes an avel. We said that if Yontif comes around, Yontif cancels the avelis. But if Shabbos comes around, Shabbos not only does not cancel it, but it counts towards one of the days.
Yeah.
Right? We don't just say, well, there's no avelis on Shabbos, so therefore you skip it and you continue afterwards. No, Shabbos counts as one of the days.
That pertains to now?
Yeah, even So a person becomes an avel on a Monday. So Monday's his first day of Shiva, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Shabbos
Friday. Shabbos counts as his day 6, and then he gets up on the 7th day. Whereas Yontiv, if he becomes an avel on Monday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Shabbos he's done, finished, he's over.
I had my father died out of Yom Kippur, so I had no Shiva. And I
I
had
heard
no
Yom Kippur.
Yeah,
I
we
was
discussed
Yom
this.
Kippur.
So we discussed
Right,
this.
so I had no.
So So Yontif knocked out the Shloshim. Sukkot knocked
Yeah,
out your
so
Shloshim.
good, right? So good, and I remember because I was on call on Sunday. It normally would have been the Shiva, so it would have been the whole house to give him my call. I went to work because I had Shiva. He died on Thursday. I went
No
to work.
social.
And Shoshim Masukas knocked out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we were discussing the other day with his father. Was your father or your mother?
My mother.
Right, when did she?
So it was before Rosh Hashanah.
She
Before
passed
Rosh
3
Hashanah.
days before Rosh Hashanah.
And then Yom Kippur
Rosh
knocks
Hashanah,
out the
Yom
Yom Kippur
Shoshim.
knocked out the Shoshim.
Okay.
Wow.
So it says in the Gemara, Mipnei she'omer Shabbos oila ve'eino mafseka. So it says in the Mishnah that whereas by Yontif it's mafsik and it doesn't count, it cancels the entire Avelos Shabbos. It doesn't cancel it and it counts towards it. Bnei Yehuda, Bnei Galila. So in the Galil and Yehuda, 2 different areas, they had an argument over the following. One of them said, Yesh Avelos b'Shabbos, that you can be noyag Avelos b'Shabbos, and we don't mean that there's Avelos b'Shabbos that you do mamish regular normal dinim of Avelos. We're talking about Avelus Bitsina. What does it mean? Dvarm Shebitzina is referring to Tashmish Hamita, meaning is a person allowed to have Tashmish on Shabbos of Avelus? If a person's in Avel, let's say during Shiva, so during Shiva, the Shabbos of Shiva is Tashmish Mutter or is Tashmish Aser. We hold it's Aser, meaning we hold it's that you don't do Tashmish.
What's
Right?
the word?
We hold it on Shabbos.
Relations.
Tashmish, sorry, yeah, be a sex with wife. Yeah. So Avelus b'Shabbos, do we say you're allowed to or not allowed to? So the Bnei Yehuda and the Bnei Galil, they had an argument over the Chashav Rabbanim here had one opinion, and the Chashav Rabbanim over here had a different opinion. Yeah, so Amri Yesh Avelus b'Shabbos. So one of them held that there is an Avelus b'Shabbos, which means that even B'tzina, even private Tashmish is going to be Aser. The honey Amri ain't Avelus b'Shabbos. They says no, there's no dinim of Avelus on Shabbos, and so therefore, not only are you not knowing the public form of Avelus, even the private forms of Avelus are going to be mutter, and therefore Tashmish will be mutter. So basically, they're arguing on whether Tashmish via relations is mutter or usser on Friday night of Avelus. So the Gemara is going to try to explain the 2 opinions and where they look to the Mishnah to try to find some sort of a source. Manda Amar Yesh Avelus b'Shabbos. The Shita who holds that you are not allowed to have Tashmish on Friday night, because what does it say in the Mishnah? It says the Ketani Oila. It says that Shabbos counts towards your counting of 7, right? And how could you count Shabbos towards the counting of Shiva unless there's something going on Shabbos that is me'inyan Avelus? If it's completely devoid of any Avelus, how could it count towards the days of Shiva? And Manda Amar Ein Avelus b'Shabbos, who says that there's nothing going on Shabbos and that Shabbos is completely devoid of Avelus, he'll say the Ktani Eina Mafsekas. It says that Shabbos is not mafsek, meaning Shabbos does not cancel Avelus. And Isal Kedaitich Yesh Avelus b'Shabbos. And if you'll tell me that there is some form of Avelus on Shabbos, like Tashmish, that's going to be Aser, then how can you tell me that there's even a Havamina that Shabbos will be mafsek? You can't cancel Avelus with Avelus, right? Hashta Avelus Nahaga. If Suki Mibaya, I even have to have a conversation about canceling. The fact that the Mishnah is addressing the question about whether Shabbos will or won't cancel Avelus, it can only cancel it if it has no Avelus on it. But if it has some Avelus, you don't cancel Avelus with Avelus. Good?
Yep.
Okay. So those are the 2 opinions, and those are their 2 places. Now, each one has a good place in the Mishnah, but they also have a problem in the Mishnah, right? Because each one has to read the whole Mishnah. They have the same Mishnah, right? So Ve'ela Hakatani Ayla. So the second opinion, who says that there's no Avelus whatsoever, meaning Tashmish is completely mutter on Friday night by Avelus. It's Ayla. So how can you have Shabbos counting towards Shiva if there's no Avelus on Shabbos? He says, no, I need to Kabbalah Mishnah. No, the whole reason why it says Ayla is really because we want to say in the Seifa by Yontiv that ain't an Aylan, that Yontiv doesn't count. That meaning when we cancel the Avelus by Yontiv, it doesn't count towards the days. So therefore, Tana Reisha Ayla, it said it in the Reisha. But don't read that as like part and parcel of the din of Shabbos. Really, I wouldn't have even needed to say that because there's no Avelus on Shabbos. And the Lamanda Amr Yesh Avelus b'Shabbos, that there's an Isser to have Tashmish, that you're not allowed to have relations on Friday night by Avelus. According to that opinion, and he says, therefore it says, Oyla, what are you going to do with the other part? Hakitani Einam of Sekis, meaning to say, like we said earlier, why do you need to even tell me that it's not mafsik? If there's dinam of Avelus, then it can't be mafsik. So he says, Mishum Tekaboilim say from Mafsikin, Tana Reisha Einam of Sekis, meaning to say the same argument goes in the other direction. Each one is saying that the primary raya from the Mishnah is their raya, and the other one is only coming off of the Seifa, but really in the end of the day, they both have a makar. Okay, so there's a machlekes we paskin that one is not supposed to have tashmish, and that there is dvarim shebetzin and noyagin on Shabbos by Avelis. Okay, lema ketanai. This machlekes about whether there's an iser tashmish when one's allowed to have tashmish with his wife during Avelis or not. Let's maybe contend that it's a machlekes tanai. It says in the following brayso, Misha Mesa. We know where this Mishnah is, right? This Mishnah is in Brachas. It's a brayso in Brachas. Misha Mesa motulafanav. A person in Nebuch becomes an ovel. It becomes an oinen. So someone dies. The body's not yet buried. So that means he's not an ovel yet. He's an oinen. So we'll see in a moment. He's completely putter from kol mitzvah amuras b'Torah. Positive commandments, negative commandments he still has to abide by, right? Misha Mesa motulafanav. He's not even allowed to eat in front of the base, the body. If he's stuck in his own house or he can't go anywhere, he goes to his friend's house. If he doesn't have that, he's got to make a wall or some sort of a partition to separate himself if he wants to eat something. Let's say he has no materials to build any type of partition. Then at least he has to turn around. I mean, again, this is all about like a loiv l'rush. You have a body sitting. It's also it's an Avelis issue. It's a bizayin to the mace. You're going to be doing this in front of the body. The aina mace of eichel, and even if you have the partition, you're not supposed to like recline and eat. It's not disrespectful. The aina eichel basar, don't eat flesh. The aina shosei yayin, don't drink wine. The aina mevarach, don't make brachas. The aina mezamen, you don't make a zimun for benching. The aina mevarchen olav, which pashtus means benching. The aina mezamnin olav, you have to know exactly what each one of these things are, but the point is over there in the Bryce, you see, you're not allowed to do all these things. Potter mikriyashma uminat tefila uminat tefillin. Potter from these mitzvahs umikol mitzvahs amuras b'Torah. Not only those, but even these. And obviously, the Gemara over there goes through why each and every one of these things needs to be mentioned. But for our purposes, what do you see? That you're potter from all these mitzvahs. Ubishabbos, however,
before you eat either.
No, I don't know.
I think you told me no.
I don't think so. I don't think
You
so.
don't.
It says here, "Ve'im mevarchel."
Yeah, I'm just not sure if it means a mevarch and olav. Maybe it means
I hear it before you.
Yeah. So not so clear. I mean, I'm not sure what the halach is, but the Bryce seems to be that you don't make a bracha before. Either way, so that's the halach when mesav mutal lefanav. So far we have no raya to a machlekes tanaim here. So let's continue. Ub'Shabbos, and here's where we're going to start getting into what's relevant for us. Mesav on Shabbos, meaning once Shabbos comes. So even though you're potter from kol mitzvahs amuras b'Torah.
Actually, bracha says even before you.
Yeah. Okay.
But it does wash his hands for his name.
Right. So that's not a mitzvah. That's just a question of preventing tumah. So, Shabbos meitzav v'oichel. On Shabbos he can lie and recline and eat. V'oichel basar v'shoysi yayin u'mevarach u'mezaman u'mevarach u'mezamla. Meaning Shabbos comes all of a sudden, even though there's a body sitting in front of him, the halach is chayiv in all the mitzvahs. V'chayiv b'kriyashma b'tfilo b'tfilin b'chol mitzvah amuras b'Torah. And again, whatever the lumdus is, once Shabbos comes, Yechayiv in all of these things, and so therefore the halacha is Yechayiv v'chol mitzvahs amuras b'Torah. Now, does that mean v'chol mitzvahs amuras b'Torah? Does that include tashmish shamita? Does that not include tashmish shamita? Meaning, what's one of the mitzvahs, right? So maybe we're saying over here Yechayiv v'chol mitzvahs amuras b'Torah. Rabban Gamliel Oimer mitoshin is chayiv be'elu. Since you're chayiv in Kriya Shema, Tefillah, Tefillin, nischayiv b'kul, and you're chayiv in everything. So the language that's used by the Tanna Kama is just simply v'chol mitzvahs amuras b'Torah. Whereas Rabban Gamliel uses a lashon of nischayev bechulan. Chulan is a more inclusive lashon. The Gemara wants to say, what's the difference between the two opinions? Rabbi Yochanan's opinion is they're all arguing over whether a person is mitzvah. Does he have the mitzvah of tashmish hamita or not? Meaning he's an onen, but it's Shabbos. So do we say the mitzvah Friday night to be with his wife is relevant or not? I mean, is it mutter or is it usher? And the Tanna Kama is going to say it's usher. Right? Because that mitzvah he doesn't have, and whereas Rabban Gamliel is going to say, no, even that mitzvah he has. The Gemara wants to say, my lav b'hakim iflgi, that the Tanna Kama who says it's also demar savar yesh avelos b'Shabbos. He holds that there is some element of avelos on Shabbos, meaning, and therefore a person is not allowed to have tashmish with his wife. Umar Rabban Gamliel savar ein avelos b'Shabbos. There's no avelos b'Shabbos at all, and a person would be mutter to have tashmish with his wife. So the Gemara wants to say that machlekes which we saw above between Bnei Galil and Bnei Yehuda is this machlekes tanaim. Mora says no raya. One second. Mimai, who says so? Maybe that's a case of Einin specific. Dilma ad kan lekamar Tanna Kama hasam. When did Tanna Kama say that tashmish is going to be usher? Elamishum that's a very serious thing, and so therefore, according to the Tanna Kama, maybe the halach is you can't have tashmish then. But if it would be, let's say the body got buried Erev Shabbos, and now he's in the middle of his avelus on Friday night, maybe have aval hacha de'ein mesa mutal lefanov. Maybe he'll say loyal. It'll be mutter to have tashmish. The ad kan lekamar Rabban Gamliel hasam. Rabban Gamliel only said that it's going to be mutter to have tashmish Friday night when you're an oinen is the akati lechal avelis alet, because the halachas of avelis have not applied yet, right? So therefore, on Shabbos you have all your mitzvahs. Maybe over there he says even the mitzvah of tashmish, but once avelis comes and there's no special halacha that you're chayiv b'kol mitzvah and b'torah, maybe here the dinim of avelis would say that there's not going to be tashmish allowed on Friday night. Aval hacha the chal avelis alei hachinami, the halacha is going to be that it's going to be aser. So therefore, you have no raya that it's a machlekes tonight. We'll cover a little bit, unless you're in a rush. You in a rush?
No.
Okay, so we'll cover a little because tomorrow's a little tough.
Why does it even matter? We don't go out on Shabbos. Like, what is
No, it's not. It's I also made that mistake. It's not Shabbos. It's talking after Shabbos.
No, they're talking on Shabbos.
No, the tone is after Shabbos.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
No, it's confusing. You're right. It says that goes on during the week. It stops
So,
Shabbos.
yeah.
Even the art scroll says this should be deleted. The halacha is that
No, it's different
mitzvah
halacha.
is not
Different
applying Shabbos.
All right, let's go. One second. Boy mine Rabbi Yochanan Mishmuel, he says in the top because it's mamish the continuation. Boy mine Rabbi Yochanan Mishmuel, yesh avelos b'Shabbos, ein avelos b'Shabbos. Do we say what's the halacha? We just discussed this sugya. What's the halacha? Amar le ein avelos b'Shabbos. There's no avelos b'Shabbos, and therefore tashnamit is mutter. However, Yasir Rabban and Kamad Rapapa, the Kamri Mishmei the Shmuel, Avel Shishimish Mitas B'Yimei Evloi, meaning even though what we just said above was that there's Ein Avelos B'Shabbos or Yesh Avelos, we paskin Ein Avelos, we paskin Yesh Avelos, and it'll come from the Gemara later on. Yasir Rabban and Kamad Rapapa. The rabbi sat in front of Rapapa, the Kamri Mishmei the Shmuel, and they quoted in the name of Shmuel the following: Avel, a person who was an Avel, Shishimish Mitas B'Yimei Evloi. It's not by Shabbos. This is just simply a regular normal case where a person was Mishamesh Mitas B'Yimei Evloi, which is Aser. Right? Tash Shamita during the week is for sure Aser. Right? Chayiv Misa. He's Chayiv Misa. This is how they quoted it in the name of Shmuel. Amalei Rapapa, upon hearing that said no. Number one, you made two mistakes. Aser Itmar, first of all, it didn't say Chayiv Misa. He just said that it's Aser. And not only that, it wasn't Shmuel. Mishmei Rabbi Yochanan Itmar. Rabbi Yochanan the one who said that it's Aser. Right? However, if you're going to tell me that you heard Shmuel say that you Chayiv Misa for something, V'ishmiel L'chu Mishmei the Shmuel, something related to this idea, Hachi Shmiel L'chu, it must be that you heard the following thing. Amar of Tachlifa Bar Avimi Amar Shmuel, Avel shaloi parav shaloi piram. If an Avel didn't tear kriya and he cut his hair, I mean he didn't allow his hair to grow and he didn't tear kriya, chayiv misa, he's chayiv misa. Shenemer, like we learned by Bnei Aharon, Rashechem al tifru ubigdechem leisifrum. What was told to the other brothers of Nadav and Avihu was to not allow your hair to grow and to not tear kriya, meaning they were told specifically because of the simcha Mishkan to not do that, but general Avelim would have a chiyuv to do that, right? And what did it say? That they should do that in order v'lo samusa, that they shouldn't die. The Gemara says ha'achar shalei para v'shalei pirim chayiv misa, right? So that's the din that Shmuel is saying that you'd be chayiv misa would be for not doing those two things. Amaraf and Bar Papa Tana ba'avol Rabasi, which is Masechta Smachos, which is ironically referred to as Smachos, but really it's all about Hilchos Avelos, right? Aval also l'shamash mitas b'yemei avlo. It's also for an aval to have tashmish during avelos. U'maisa be'echad sheshimish mitas b'yemei avlo. And one person did such a thing. V'shamtu chazirim esgivi. Also, and the punishment was that pigs came and bit him in the acre, and that's how he died.
Oh boy.
We'll pause here.
We have these mistakes. We have that.
We have there's a smachos rabasi and a smachos katana. We only have katana. We call it.
Where is it?
It's in the small Masechtas near Adios.
Yeah?
So we have the Seftas.
We don't have Smachas Rabasi. Rabasi is the bigger one. We have the smaller one. At least that's
part
what
of that.
What do you mean? It's not.
There's two of them. There was a bigger one and a small one. We don't know where the bigger one is.
We don't do this.
It's not part of that.
We have, it's not part of that. Well, we'll learn it if you want.
No, we don't learn.
Now, I just want to point out, guys, I took a look. This Masechta ends on Daf Chavtes. It's literally, that's Chavtes.
Okay, good.
And the calendar gives it a full day.
Oh, we'll give you others.
So I think that would be a good day. Maybe we'll pick a topic from the Masechta. Maybe we'll just do.
Or you can spend
Well, we have a whole Masechta before we give on the Masechta Tagiga. Unless you want to just do a random day and you I know you're nervous.
Finish talking to your mom.
Sarah, saying, no, you let us start.
A lot of time.
Go ahead.
Have a great day.